No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
It's time for Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny. From what's happening on the Blue at Boise State to the Mountain West and beyond. The biggest storylines, the best guests, and most outlandish opinions from two dudes who eat, sleep, and breathe college football. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. You can also pick up any of Western Collective's beers or vodka seltzers at most major retailers in Idaho. Ball Talk with Sanford and Johnny, featuring former Boise State quarterback and longtime coach Mike Sanford and KTIK 95.3 FM The Ticket's Johnny Mallory on Bronco Nation News.
Into episode 6. We are live early in the morning. The Hawaii trip, it's just weird. For the players, the coaches, even the media members, appreciate everybody for adjusting to this schedule. BJ, it's like, 5 a.m. in Hawaii right now. They got a huge pregame show here on BNN at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, but we're going to kick this sucker off with a special edition of Ball Talk. I'm John Mallory. With me, my partner, Coach Mike Sanford, ready to get you going for some island ball and just a huge day of college football, Coach Sanford. I got game day and big noon on the big TVs to my left. I'm getting ready for the day as we always do, but heck yeah, get to start this sucker off with you. Welcome. I know you just got off another hit, so you're good to go. This is probably your third cup of coffee. Let's have some fun today, Coach.
Hey, cheers to Bronco Nation. Cheers to all the Ball Talk Nation. We love you. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is an early edition, a game day version of Ball Talk, and I am so fired up. I have so much caffeine pumping through my veins right now. And unfortunately, I'm at the end of my cup of coffee and I'm in my little studio and I can't text my lovely wife because she is currently in Nairobi, Kenya, in Africa on a missions trip. It's just me and 3 young rascals that are just awesome. That's one way to put it. Johnny?
Still sleeping? No, the kids still
not
sleep?
the boys were up at 5:45 a.m. this morning. Peyton, my daughter, who's 14, she'll go straight high school, aged weekend. She's going to sleep until 2 in the afternoon. And it's going to be great, man. I'm so excited about college football today. I love when Boise State plays the late night game. And I know not everybody would agree with that sentiment. I love it so much, Johnny, that I'm going to jump on the post-game show at 2 in the morning or whatever time it's going to be on because Hawaii is going to throw the ball. 68 times in this game. Their leading rusher has 900 yards less than Ashton Jeanty does. 900. Hawaii's leading rusher, 900 less. So expect a lot of clock stoppages tonight. Please get really weird today, Bronco Nation, Ball Talk Nation, and stay up late with me because it's going to get weird. It's going to be weird.
If you guys correctly predict the score today, get it in the comments. Mike Sanford is going to give you a personally handwritten autographed picture of himself at the school he coached of your choice, and he will sign that sucker. We will mail that to you. So make sure you get your predictions in, and if you get it right, you're probably going to have to remind us because I doubt we're going back and checking through all these. Suckers.
Yeah, drop those in right now. Even though, hey, John, have you discussed with my legal team?
I have not yet.
Yeah, but you kind of dropped a little bit of a Johnny bomb on the show here. I didn't know that we were going to do autographs. My legal team consists of a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 14-year-old. That's my legal team right now. So I'm gonna consult with my legal here after the show.
Let's do it, man. So get those score predictions in. What's different about? Have you done the island trip?
Oh yeah.
You got to wait all day. I mean, is there anything that you've seen coaches and teams do well when they go over there to eliminate any distractions? Are the distractions overrated, in your opinion? I've traveled with football teams. You guys never go anywhere.
No,
we are in the hotel. All the parents show up to the hotel, and you just sit there in the lobby and hang out with your parents the whole time.
I absolutely hated the old model, and I think a lot of people still do it, where you are essentially like in a prison of a hotel for, 12 hours on a game day. What I did at Notre Dame, I didn't like that just kind of stale nature of being in a hotel all day, watching college football games and kind of, seeing quarterbacks make mistakes if you're a quarterback. So when I was coaching the quarterbacks at Notre Dame, we called it the Red Army Walk. And the Red Army was the name of the quarterback group at Notre Dame, something that existed well before I got there. But we walked to weird locations on game day. So when I coached in Boston, we were playing at Fenway against Boston College in a Shamrock Series game. This helmet right here, we wore this special edition helmet there at Fenway. That's those little notches on the belt are for the 11 national championships that Notre Dame has won. Doesn't look like they're going to win another one anytime soon, but but so what we did, we actually walked from our hotel, and sometimes I always found a weird place, like a historical landmark if we could. And so at Fenway, when we played in Boston, we walked to the old Cheers bar, the original Cheers bar, the Bull and Finch pub, as it's called in Boston. And we brought the Notre Dame quarterback group, and just there was actually a wedding. People were doing their pictures, and we're like, oh, hey, congratulations. And then when we played on College game day against Temple, when Matt Rule was the head coach and they were a 7-0 undefeated team, we took the walk to the steps of the I think it's the Philadelphia Museum of Art, where the Rocky statue is, and we reenacted the Rocky scene as quarterbacks. Those are things that I wanted to do. I think there is a lot of pent up nervous energy, no matter what. It's never a lack of focus, Johnny. It's more sometimes that you get players that are wound up and they feel like they are incarcerated for a half of a calendar day before an 8:30 kick. So I like to just get out and get some fresh air. At Clemson, before we played Clemson, I took the Notre Dame quarterback group. The only thing that was nearby was Goodyear Tires headquarters, and we snuck in on a Saturday there was a door open into the Goodyear employee lunchroom, and we saw the gigantic, whatever that marshmallow blobby Goodyear, the Goodyear blob. We saw him. Pictures with them. It was a lot of fun, man. That's what I like to do.
Hey, I got to go back a second. You said you called the Notre Dame quarterback group the Red Army. I think I know why.
You know exactly why.
I watch a lot of college football. I think it's because, oddly enough, like when Brian Kelly and you were there at Notre Dame, all the backup quarterbacks on the sideline always wore red hats with a Notre Dame logo. And I remember thinking, like, that's kind of weird. Like, you can buy just a red Notre Dame hat. And then it occurred to me, it's so the quarterback on the field can look over and see who his guys are because they're the ones wearing the red hat. Am I anywhere close on that?
You are 100% accurate. And the reason it started, I believe it does go back to Tommy Rees when he was playing quarterback at Notre Dame, which preceded my time there. Tommy Rees was a backup for a good chunk of his career at Notre Dame, now coaching, I believe, at the Cleveland Browns as the tight end coach after, Alabama, Nick Saban departed and all that went down. But what really went down is that the Notre Dame, the jerseys are iconic, even in practice, right? It's navy blue and gold. You have, the actual gold leaf in your helmet. You have everybody's wearing navy blue. The quarterbacks for years, even when my dad coached quarterbacks at Notre Dame, they wore red jerseys, in practice. So that was the root of the Red Army, because they were the only guys in a red jersey, and it looked so oddball in such a traditional Notre Dame jersey combination to be in red with a Notre Dame gold helmet on. And so then they took it, and the equipment manager at Notre Dame, the best in the business at the time, Ryan Grooms, he went so far as to print out gear for the quarterbacks, and it was red Notre Dame stuff with camo. It was a red camo print, almost like the KGB in Russia, which I thought was a little controversial, but we never really got into that. But it was something else, man. It was a fun time.
You mentioned the 900-yard disparity in Ashton Jeanty and the leading rusher for Hawaii. I was thinking about that going into, I think it was week 6 or week 7. Is it week 7 officially with week 0 and whatnot? But that's probably the largest disparity in college football history between starting running backs this early into the season with what Ashton Jeanty is doing. And you're shaking your head too. You've seen, you watch tape for a living. You did for decades. You've seen everything from every stinking angle. You coached running backs at Stanford. They had some of the best running backs of the era when you were there. You coached running backs, Notre Dame, several going into the NFL. You know this position, man. And we're seeing this every single week. He's adding 3, 4, 5 new highlights to this reel of just spectacular football runs after another. I'm having a hard time putting it into perspective now. Like, there's no hyperbole coming with Ashton Jeanty. Like, I'm not going to be shocked if he ever has a game where it's like 10 carries, 170 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and they pull him. Like, nothing is off the table. He can legit take it to the house on any run from any distance. You're not catching him from behind, coach. And, when you see this and you evaluate him, and I'm sure you have, like, damn, man, like, how are you putting this into perspective, dude?
Yeah, we're all speaking in superlatives, and that's not an exaggeration in the case of Ashton Jeanty in describing the player. The thing is, as a play caller, that having come from that background that I keep coming back to, and I might sound like a broken record, and I'm going to keep saying it, Johnny, because this is what distinguishes Ashton Jeanty from, say, a running back with the best offensive line in college football at an Alabama or a Georgia, and you just see wide open holes every single play. I love this Boise State offensive line. I loved it a year ago. I was so dang impressed with it. The biggest jump that I've seen from last year to this year is I do believe Ashton Jeanty ran through some pretty cavernous holes a year ago. You can tell that there is a completely different defensive strategy to stop Ashton Jeanty, extra hats in the box, changing up the different blitz patterns that are run stunts that have more, of the intent of getting into the backfield. And right now, Ashton Jeanty, what makes him so special is that it almost doesn't matter what's called. It doesn't matter the scheme. It doesn't matter if it's blocked to perfection. Ashton Jeanty is so in his bag right now as a break the first tackle guy. And then at the second level, break the second tackle. And then the piece that I still am just wowed by this season is the home run ability of Ashton Jeanty. You feel like right now it doesn't really matter what a defense is going to do. And Washington State being the best defense that Boise State's seen, certainly since the Oregon game, the amount of hits that he's absorbing at or behind of the line of scrimmage for 99.9% of running backs, those plays result in tackles for loss. For Ashton Jeanty, they're resulting in explosive runs, 60-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown runs. That's not normal. That is not normal whatsoever. And that is the biggest luxury you can have as a play caller. And I think Dirk Cutter is right in describing it as he just grabs his popcorn and sees what's going to happen next. I've been fortunate one time in my career to have a back that was in that conversation, and that was Jay Ajayi, where at times you just feel like you don't need to overcomplicate it. You just need to put the ball in his belly and let him go to work. And that's exactly what Ashton Jeanty's doing. And frankly, we all know that he's doing it at a level that is not just historical from a Boise State standpoint, but from a national standpoint. He's in the conversation with Barry Sanders. I had that conversation on Denver airwaves this week, that he is in that conversation. Now, Barry Sanders, I got to know him a little bit, recruiting his son at Stanford. He's an amazing human being. It's really hard to say Ashton Jeanty's better right now than Barry Sanders was at Oklahoma State, just because of the respect for the name and what he accomplished in the National Football League at that position. But the conversation's happening. It really is. Like that is a reality, and you cannot deny that.
You are in a unique position in the media, also with your coaching background, to have somewhat of an inside track on both Ashton Jeanty, and I think right now the only person, first of all, let me just get this on the record. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to win the Heisman. If he doesn't get hurt, this is going to happen every week, and he is going to have a Barry Sanders type of statistical season. The fact that he's going to get to play more games really will help Ashton push him over, I think, that all-time record. But it is just the outstanding factor. That's what it says on the award, most outstanding player. And I think he's going to win it. But if he doesn't, I would put my money on Travis Hunter there in Boulder, where you are. He plays both ways. He plays over 100 snaps a game. You said it best. He's the best corner in America, and he's a top 3 receiver in America. Those put together, Colorado is winning. That could be, for Boise State fans who think this is cruise control, I want you to let everybody know you see these guys, both of them, up close in your unique position. How is the Heisman race right now for the Sandman?
It's very interesting. It's very exciting. I love it. I am front row to Travis Hunter, who is an incredible football player. I will not stand for any smearing of his name from Bronco Nation, because he is an incredible football player, and everybody in Bronco Nation does have an NFL team that you root for. You are praying to God that you end up with Travis Hunter on your roster. Trust me when I say that. This dude is incredible, and he's also just a great dude. He's really fun to cover. He's really fun to watch. But right now it's going to come down to this. If Travis Hunter has humongous moments in big marquee games like this Saturday night at Kansas, or against Kansas State at Folsom Field, he's going to remain in the discussion. If CU continues to win, he's going to remain squarely in the conversation. And I will say this, and this is not me throwing shade. I listen to all of the, national pundits. I listen to even our Denver morning show, which is the number one morning show in the Rocky Mountain region by a long shot. And if I just kind of, listen in every once in a while, they'll talk about Ashton Jeanty, but the conversation always goes to who have they played and who do they have coming up. You can't undo that. Yep. And so it's going to come down to a couple factors in terms of the Heisman race. The health of both players is going to be paramount. And a year ago, if I'm not mistaken, Ashton Jeanty missed a little bit of time.
Yeah, he missed a couple of games. I think it was 2.5. And the commenters can let us know too. He missed like half of a game. He left with injury, and then he missed the 2 following after that, I think. And yeah, George Halani was in the mix, obviously, but continue.
Yeah, and last year, Travis Hunter was banged up for a good chunk of the season. So there is a tax that you pay on that type of football in both Travis Hunter's instance, which is 130 to 160 snaps a game, which is not human, and doing it at such a high level. The thing about Travis Hunter that does blow my mind is that after playing 2 games of film, which is what a normal, what he's doing is it's a twofer. It's how many plays you'd be graded on, as a receiver or as a corner. He's making his biggest moment plays with the game on the line at the very end of football games to seal these games. And if he does that against Kansas State, don't for 1 second think that the national narrative is not going to shift right back to Travis Hunter as the leader in the clubhouse. It has gone back and forth. You got to remember, CU had a bye last week. right? So the odds do shift because the attention shifted to Ashton Jeanty and backing up an unbelievable performance against Washington State, and then an unbelievable performance in just basically 2 quarters of work against Utah State. I think that this thing is going to continue to go back and forth. I have my thoughts in my mic drop about the importance of the Heisman versus the importance of the CFP for Boise State. And I think that that is a fine line that both Dirk Cutter and most importantly, Spencer Danielson need to navigate well. I think it's been A+ thus far. But I think that Boise State is less inclined to have a slip-up game than CU is going to have a slip-up game. And I think that will matter in the Heisman race. And I think that slip-up game, Johnny, if I'm going to be very brutally honest, I think that slip-up game happens tonight with K-State and their rushing attack coming into Folsom Field.
So Boise State, hope for Colorado just to lose, even if Travis Hunter has an exceptional game. The fact that they do lose takes him out of the national conversation a little bit on that, Coach. But how about just Heisman after dark? You have Ashton Jeanty on one channel and Travis Hunter on the other. They're the only 2 late games at that level going on. I mean, if that's not going to keep East Coast folks up to watch some college football, man, I don't know what will. You mentioned the mic drop. I don't want to get anything further. So without further ado, let's have some fun with this. A special edition Ball Talk mic drop.
First off, I want to thank our sponsor, Western Collective, our Bronco Nation news sponsor, Kerry Pruitt's a good buddy of mine. He does incredible stuff at all of his different properties, and his craft beer, which is one of my favorite things to partake in, if you will. From time to time, only on the weekends, no midweek drink in there, Johnny ball game. But I love Western Collective. So mic drop, game day edition. All right. I'm going to talk numbers. Very simple numbers. And I think these are the most important numbers as Boise State does navigate the remainder of its Mountain West Conference slate against some of the lower echelon type teams like Hawaii is. We have to say it. It is a reality. I look at it from a 30,000 foot view. I am not a coach that's looking at it from a say the right things in front of the camera and the media about Hawaii. Hawaii is not good. Hawaii is not a good football program. Wyoming right now is not a good football program. This conference outside of UNLV, Boise State, even San Jose State, to me is just not very strong. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem for both Boise State's having its eyes on the college football playoff and for Ashton Jeanty to win the Heisman Trophy. The numbers are this, and I want you to think about this. I want you to put it into your brain as you watch the game tonight. And these numbers are for the lower class citizens of the Mountain West Conference when Boise State does face those teams. And those numbers are this: 13 for 200 with 3 in 2. Once again, 13 for 200 with 3 in 2. That's 13 carries for 200 yards with 3 touchdowns in 2 quarters. That's the key for Ashton Jeanty to win the Heisman Trophy, and why it's so dang important and why everybody should freak out. Oh, Ashton Jeanty's got to carry the ball with a 30-point lead in the second half is because what's way more important for Boise State as an alum is for Boise State to be the very first Group of 5 representative in the expanded 12-team playoff. And 13 carries, because you know what Ashton Jeanty is going to do for 13 carries against the lower class citizens of the Mountain West Conference. He's going to go off. Frankly, he's going to go off against any defense in the Mountain West Conference. It gets him to be fresh. It keeps him in a place where he can do it again. It's repeatable. The most important thing for Boise State to be the college football playoff representative and have a chance as you watch the Big 12 cannibalize itself is for Boise State to get a home playoff at Albertson Stadium on the blue is for Ashton Jeanty to be healthy. It is the most important thing. This is why I think Ashton Jeanty is at the top with Travis Hunter and right now above Travis Hunter in the Heisman conversation, because there is not one player in college football that is more valuable to the performance of their team and for their team to continue to perform at an elite level. 13 for 200 with 3 in 2. I want to see that the rest of the year, and I want to see Boise State in the college football playoff while seeing Ashton Jeanty continue to be at the top of the Heisman Trophy conversation. All of you out there that are looking for those 30 carry games against, Wyoming or against Hawaii, you need to just go get a reality check, because the CFP and Ashton Jeanty winning the Heisman can be navigated well throughout the course of the remaining season. And Boise State is going to get it done with that simple equation: 13 for 200 with 3 in 2 quarters. And that's my mic drop.
Appreciate that, Coach. Mic drop brought to you by Western Collective. Remember the BNN post-game show tonight. Post-game show starts after the game. Sanford's going to be hanging out with BJ and the crew. The pre-game show starts at 7 p.m., so make sure you're back on BNN in the midst of all the chaos going on Saturday night. Get that in for the BNN pre-game show. I got a couple of things, and you may not like it, but we're good enough friends, so I feel like I can go here.
Let's get weird, Johnny.
Some people might say, "Oh yeah, Sanford now, he doesn't want to give Jeanty the ball passed when you have to." And I agree with you 100% on that. This team has different goals. Some teams, maybe you've coached some of them, it was a big deal for the guy to get the Heisman. Your boy BK last year in LSU, that is what LSU season turned into after their 3rd loss. Jaden Daniels wins the Heisman. That's the best thing we can do to advance our program, having the Heisman winning quarterback. Boom, they got it done. Teams do it. Boise State's not going to be one of those teams. The Heisman is going to have to come with a trip to the CFP, and if it doesn't, dang it, I wish it would have. But I feel like there's a lot of people that feel, you know what? No, the Heisman is up there with the CFP for overall program advancement and everything that comes with it. Try to do both, even if it means one hurts the other. People have accused you, dude, you buried Jay Ajayi. You wouldn't stop giving him the ball. NFL scouts, I talked to them. They came in the building. They said, Sanford, what are you doing? You're burying this back. We want him in the NFL. Come on, man. Like, you of all people, for you to sit here and say, oh, yeah, let's get Jeanty out in the second half. You were never doing that with Jay Ajayi. You just fed him and fed him and fed him. What do you say to all that?
Well, this is a different team. This is a different conference. The Mountain West Conference at that time was different than it is right now. I'm not saying it was better or worse. Boise State's a different team. This is a championship window season for Boise State. We were a 2-2 team, Johnny. We had just lost the Air Force and turned the ball over 7 times. Frankly, I was fighting for my employment. That's a reality. I mean, and I like, while I certainly care about feeding Jay Ajayi and his family for generations to come, feeding him the football is something that he wanted. And most of those games were high leverage games going into the 3rd and 4th quarter. It's completely different. You didn't have a whole bunch of depth at the running back position at that time. Jeremy McNichols, J-Mac weapon is my guy. He's still playing, man. Still toting the rock in the National Football League.
Scoring teeters and stuff. I know.
He was a true freshman back that we were just integrating after about the 4th week of the season, and didn't have much health or depth at the running back position. So it is a completely different entity. I do think Ashton Jeanty needs to be fed in high leverage games like he was against Oregon, like he was against Georgia Southern. And that has happened this season. That's what 2014 felt more like in a majority of those contests. These games were not over in the second quarter. And not every game Boise State has played has been over in the second quarter. But I think this, you've got to win football games. But if all you're doing is stat chasing with Ashton Jeanty, just put yourself in the position. All right, we're at Hawaii tonight. It's mountain time on the body clock. It's 12:16 a.m. It's Sunday. It's tomorrow. And Boise State has a 29-point lead in the late in the 3rd quarter. All right, let's get Ashton Jeanty a nice little snap of duo here, on the 35-yard line, just so he can get another 35-yard touchdown run. He gets hurt.
Dirk Cutter recruited you. You know him very well. That doesn't cross his mind ever.
He gets hurt, Johnny. Okay. And I hate doing this, but you asked me a pretty personal question. All right. And I'm going to pose this question. You're up by 29 in the 3rd quarter and you're Heisman chasing. He gets hurt. Who you got next? Who you playing next, Johnny?
A true freshman, Dylan Riley, because Sire's not back. Breezy and Riley. Breezy would be the one, but he's
I'm saying, what team are you playing next?
Oh, on the schedule? What? You got UNLV coming up after the bye.
Yeah. You like that without Ashton for the rest of the season?
No, man. No, I'm with you, man. I don't need to see this kid get extra carries to enhance his Heisman campaign. I think it says a lot where they say, oh, he did this and this and this, and then in parentheses, first half only. I think that's getting him right.
I think that's like the ultimate pimp move, man. Like you're like,
Yes.
yeah, I did that in 2 quarters of play. What'd you do? Hey, Travis Hunter, how many quarters do you have to play? Get those stats, you know? It's so simple to me. It's not even worth having this heated debate. Now, if the game's like a 13-point game in the fourth quarter tonight against Hawaii, hell yeah, Ashton Jeanty needs to be in it. You know, and if Boise State secondary is showing that it continues to be prone to giving up yardage, man, I'm not in the camp right now that's freaking out about Boise State secondary. Now, you play against Emmett Brown and Nick Nash and those type of guys, and they're slinging the ball over the yard. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. But right now with the Mountain West and the quarterback play in the conference, it's not great. I'm not too concerned about it. What I learned when I was on dominant football teams, the worst statistical category for your football team when you're dominating and you are up early is your pass defense. Because that's what teams have to do. They have to throw the ball out of desperation. And then what do you do defensively to try to neutralize the big explosive play that allows a team to get back into the game? You play soft cover 2 shell cover 4 looks that can get picked apart. It keeps the ball in front of you. Cool. Spencer Petras, you threw for 300 some odd yards. He did it against UNLV last night.
Yeah, he did.
Right? I mean, it's just the nature of the game. So anybody who's freaking out about second half or even second quarter on passing stats, to me, you don't know ball. YDKB, you don't know ball, because when you have a big ass lead, you're going to give up passing yards. Who freaking cares? It doesn't matter.
So if you're Hawaii's coaches and you faced teams where you're like, look at their pass defense. Now they're really good. It's a good team. The one thing they're shitty at is yards per game against the pass. So you would take that thought into that and say, well, they're not as bad as the paper's going to say. Let's examine this a little bit and just see how bad they really are. I mean, we don't want to get our numbers when we're losing by 28 like all these other teams do. What you've seen from the Boise State secondary, it may not be any problems with Mountain West teams, but do you see this ultimately, being kind of the situation that they just can't get away from? Where are your thoughts on this secondary? Is this all overblown? It's not as bad as the stats say?
Georgia Southern game was concerning to me. It was. I was very concerned, but that's a long time ago, Johnny. I mean, I feel like that Boise State shored up its secondary in that Oregon game and did a really good job of keeping the ball in front of it. I think it gave the Broncos a chance to win that game. Because it was so improved from a Georgia Southern team that has frankly been pretty average to above average on the season. And then playing Oregon, who's playing in the marquee matchup of college football today. That was a tremendous improvement. There was so much compete with the ball in the air. Coverage was much better. Here's what I tell you, and going back to this whole thing from a coach's perspective, when you look at, the last stat that I always look at in terms of how to, like, if I'm even considering stats as a way to attack a defense, like that is a tiny data point. The film is what's the most important. But if I see, they're number 1 in the conference in rush defense and number 12 in pass defense, to me, it's not like, we're going to just throw the ball every play. Like that's elementary football coaching. Like that's peewee football coaching, because what we do, we actually had a box in our data that was attached to our film in Exos, in Huddle, DV Sport, these computer programs that have been used in college football before all these true nerds came up with these analytics programs. We had a box that we would check, and it would be GOB, game out of balance, and so we would actually not even watch game out of balance snaps of a defense, whether they were up by 30. Or they were down by 30, because you don't see the same structure. You don't see the same coverage. it's all about keeping the ball in front of you. It's essentially prevent defense. It's like, hey, let's just get out of here. Let them complete their 7-yard, 8-yard, 15-yard throws, but just don't give up the 59-yard touchdown. Those were, I wouldn't watch game out of bounds. It was really challenging when you were preparing for a team that had either won a lot of games by a lot of points or lost a lot of games by a lot of points, because you would some games you only watch a quarter and a half of meaningful snaps. So then you had to start going to, instead of a 4-game breakdown that was in your, in your cut-ups, you had to go to like a 10-game breakdown because there were so few plays that were available to you. I think about when we played Ohio State at Minnesota in 2021, their previous year was really good. They had every NFL receiver you can imagine on that roster. And so a majority of their defensive snaps were with a 3 or 4 possession lead, which in the Big Ten conference is the equivalent of a 9 possession lead in the Mountain West conference. I mean, it just doesn't happen often. So, I wouldn't consider myself too much with the stat side of things. I'd consider about what's happening when the game's in the balance and what does it look like defensively against the pass.
Ball talk, there's an educational process to ball talk too. That's why we do this show. And Coach, we appreciate all the comments. I want to focus on TJ Bingham. I don't think Travis Hunter's a top 5 receiver or DB in college football. We love opinions on here. You've seen this. I don't want to say you have an expert opinion, but I think I could say that. You've been in the football your entire life, and I don't think you're lying or being hyperbolic when you say Travis Hunter's the best corner in America and he's a top 3 receiver in America. Can you talk with old TJ over there?
Yeah, so TJ, first off, I appreciate your viewership. I love that you're dropping a comment. I love that you're engaging the conversation. I would love for you to drop right now. Don't look it up. Don't pull up your phone. Drop 5 receivers right now that will go ahead of Travis Hunter in the draft right now. And then I'd like you to add 5 corners in college football that will go higher than Travis Hunter in the draft. And if you can do that, man, and you can really stand on your case, then I am all in on that. I have not seen it. Tet McMillan is really good for Arizona. I don't think he has the ball skills to the level that Travis Hunter has. He is 6'5". I think that the Lacey kid from LSU is really good, but he's been shut down in games. Travis Hunter just continues to come up with wow catches at the receiver position on a consistent basis. And there has never been a corner, in my opinion, in the history of college football and as an NFL draft prospect that has had better ball skills at the corner position combined with better football instincts than Travis Hunter. This guy does things to change the game at the corner position. So anybody who could come up with 5 right now that are better draft prospects that will go higher than Travis Hunter at both positions or either position, I would love to see that, because otherwise I do think it's a take that is you do have your blue colored glasses on, which I do too. But I told you guys when I started this journey with Ball Talk, I love Boise State. I'm always rooting for Boise State, but I'm not going into this year being on Ball Talk. I'm not joining the media with my pom-poms out, okay? I'm going to join the media and evaluate what I see and call it for what it is. Ashton Jeanty is doing things that nobody in the history of college football in my watchable lifetime has ever done at the running back position. I believe that Travis Hunter's doing the same thing at both the receiver and corner position. Never seen it to that degree. It's Shohei Ohtani-like when he was pitching. It's absolutely asinine. It doesn't make sense. These two are incredible Heisman candidates, and it's going to play out. It's going to play out with health, and it's going to play out with marquee moments. And I think the Boise State UNLV matchup is going to be a huge one for Ashton Jeanty. Just like Travis Hunter's matchup tonight with Kansas State. I think that's a huge one because, guys, like, we can say that everybody's tuning into Ashton Jeanty, and a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are tuning into Ashton Jeanty's highlight reel, which is actually a really good thing for Ashton Jeanty. But if you look at the head-to-head matchup of Hawaii versus Boise State and the national viewership, it's going to be 20x in favor of CU versus Kansas State. And I'm not being an asshole. That's just a pure reality. Colorado just attracts eyeballs. People that hate them watch it because they want to see him fail. People that love him, they ingest more digital content in the state of Colorado with all the different CU fan blogs and the fanboys than any program I've ever seen because of Deion Sanders. He brought the limelight to Boulder, Colorado.
Maddox Madsen, your evaluation. What'd you see last week from him? Way more efficient. What was it, 77, 80% of his passes completed, a couple teeters. continues to not turn the ball over. They've been sacked 4 times this year, and 2 of them are on Malachi Nelson, and he's taken 10 snaps. Mad Dog not getting sacked, getting the ball out. Is he improving enough? Where's Coach Sanford on Maddox Madsen?
Solid quarterback, solid player, perfect quarterback for this team this year. That's where I stand.
All right. 20.5. Boise State favored on the island. I think this is an easy cover. My gosh, I think this.
Why is it so low?
I don't know. This has 57-17 written all over it. I don't know what I'm missing here. If Hawaii stays within 20, I'll be like, I'm kind of impressed with Hawaii. They kept that a game, right?
Yeah, I do not understand why this thing's so low. And I also understand that Vegas is really good at what they do. Typically, they've been pretty wrong on CU. I mean, CU was what were they, double-digit dogs against UCF, and they won by half 100, it felt like. So they do get things wrong from time to time. But, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't add up to me. I think Boise State wins this thing and wins it going away. I think it's going to be absolutely dominant. Braden Shager is not having a great season. He is 94th in college football right now in QBR. Has a horrible stat line with the game in the balance. The QBR takes into account, when the game is competitive and when it matters, those high leverage snaps. Braden Shager is not playing great football. I enjoyed meeting with him and sitting down with him at media day. He's an awesome young man, but frankly, this Hawaii program, which a lot of people were excited about the possibility of Timmy Chang getting this thing trending in the right direction. I see it's trending in the absolute wrong direction. I don't think Hawaii is a good football team. I don't think they have any players that scare the hell out of you. I don't think they play particularly sound fundamentally in all 3 phases. I think that Boise State wins this thing and wins it big.
All right, we got to talk before the defense of Hawaii before we get out of here and let everybody enjoy the games here in a second, Coach. But it's a fact that Hawaii on paper has the best defense in the Mountain West. They're best against the run. They only give up 120 rushing yards a game. I think they're second against the pass. I mean, on paper, this is the best defense in the Mountain West. Now, their 2 wins are against FCS teams. They've lost all the FBS teams. Paper champion are you seeing with this Hawaii defense? Do you buy that this is a really good defense in Boise State? This is their biggest challenge of the year versus a defense.
Yeah, so Delaware State is currently 1-5 on the season, plays in the HBCU of the FCS, the MEAC, which is not a good conference. UCLA is the worst offense in Power 5 football by a long shot. They are cheeks. They're terrible to watch. I can't even stomach watching a UCLA football game. Sam Houston State scored 31 on them. Sam Houston State, who's a 5-1 football team, dropped 31. Cool. I mean, they gave up yards, gave up points against Sam Houston State. Northern Iowa, they scored 7 points, and Northern Iowa right now is in FCS football is 2-3. And then you get into the Mountain West slate. San Diego State is arguably the worst offense right now, maybe next to Wyoming in the Mountain West. Air Force. Those 3 teams are pathetic, and they gave up 27 points to San Diego State. They've had an incredibly soft schedule, and they are 2-3 with their only victories over one of the worst FCS programs in college football in Delaware State, and that was a close football game for a majority of that game. These guys are not good, Johnny. They're not good. You can't put lipstick on this pig. When you get to game 5, game 6 of a season, and stats are starting to come out, you have to take a big asterisk right into this conversation. This defense is not good.
Okay. Yeah, 20.5 is the line. So you're saying a Boise State blowout. You'll be on the post-game show. That's going to begin what? This game starts at 9 Mountain. It'll go over 12:30 Mountain. So that post-game show will begin between 12:30, 1 o'clock. God, how are you going to do this? You're one of those robots, man. You don't get tired. I can see that. But
yeah, the only thing that kind of goes on me is the vocal cord. So just bear with me if I sound prepubescent tonight at about 2:30 in the morning. I did call a high school football game of the week at Christian McCaffrey's Valor Christian, and that game went till about 10:45 last night. Up this morning, but dude, hey, I'm at heart in my training, I'm a guy that's used to working 20-hour days. This is not going to kill me. It's just going to make me stronger, and I'm excited to be on the air tonight to break down this dominant victory for the Boise State Broncos as they continue towards Ashton Jeanty's Heisman race and as they continue towards Boise State being the college football playoffs representative, and I believe is going to host a CFP playoff game in Boise, Idaho. I really believe that.
Now they're right in the mix, dude, or they get a bye and their first game is a bowl game. I mean, you look at the Big 12. I mean, is the Big 12 champion going to be ranked higher than a 12-1 Boise State with a Heisman winner? I don't think so. This is going to get real interesting, and it might even be bad moving forward for the tournament. Do you think a lot of your Notre Dame folks and all these big, USC and Stanford, are they going to be cool? SEC Big Ten teams cool with Boise State getting a bye? I don't know, man. I mean, I want it to happen. I'm just looking at the future of this tournament. We'll see.
Well, they wanted, because the SEC has been cheating for so long, they wanted it to become legal in NIL. They wanted to be able to accumulate all the group of 5 talent, the FCS talent at the highest level with the transfer portal. They got what they wanted. And frankly, it's created an incredible amount of parity across the Power 2 conferences, the Power 4 conferences, the A4 conferences, if you will. And so they got what they wanted. They knew that, the nuclear bomb, the Cold War was going to be ended if one SEC team told on another team for paying players illegally in the 90s and 2000s and 2010s and early 2020s. So they got their NIL, and now it's created an incredible amount of parity across college football. And guess who's going to feast on it? My alma mater, the Boise State Broncos, because they've been able to keep their roster intact. And right now they're in a better place. I bring up this conversation a lot on air on Altitude Sports Radio. I think about the NFL a lot because we talk Denver Broncos all the time, but also in college football. Right now, let's start with college football. Who are the great teams, the untouchables right now in college football today, this season? Who are the great teams in college football? Go ahead.
The absolute untouchables right now this year. I mean, in 8 hours, I'll be able to tell you what Ohio State does against Oregon. But right now, I can't put them on that list as untouchable because, again, this is going to be their first and only test really so far this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Ohio State's been running through teams on this thing, Coach. Other than that, I mean, we saw what happened to Bama. Texas, can I say Texas is untouchable? Right now, I mean,
based off their resume, that's the closest thing. But man, I'm not convinced on Quinn Ewers. His lack of mobility, he's had some up and down performances. They're going to face a full slate of SEC games coming up. I'm not buying that Texas is going to remain unscathed. I'm not buying that Georgia.
Are you buying Georgia? Are you buying Penn State or Miami? That's all I can throw in there. You're right. I get your point.
There's an absence of really, really dominant teams. Why? Because of the NIL landscape and because of the transfer portal. There a lot of these teams that used to be quote unquote untouchables are very touchable. Look at Vanderbilt giving it to Alabama right after Alabama gave it to Georgia. That's what's going to happen. There's going to be so much cannibalization in the A4 conferences, the automatic 4 conferences, that Boise State, if they just continue to handle business and keep Ashton Jeanty healthy.
Yes.
Keep him healthy.
I agree.
Don't get your 7 meaningless carries because, we're the little guy. We have to have a guy that went for 28 for 322. This isn't Garrett Wolf. This isn't Garrett Wolf at Northern Illinois. Okay? You want to win a college football playoff game, not just get there. You want to win a game and see what the hell happens because my argument is why Ashton Jeanty in this championship window is so important is because you're going to be able to compete in the CFP. Not just get there. Compete. Okay, you're going to compete.
Staff's crazy. No one wants to face Ashton Jeanty in the first round of this tournament. Nobody wants the Boise State draw. Seriously, the coach who sees that when they do selection Sunday and everybody's like the NCAA basketball tournament sitting there in their meeting room waiting to see who they play, and we'll see all the videos. Look at the head coach when they see they're lined up against Boise State, and you'll probably see an F-bomb because he's going to look at his DC and say, okay, we got to figure out how to tackle this son of a bitch because nobody else has, right? That's going to be interesting. Yeah, totally. They got a chance to do damage when they get to the tournament. I've been saying that on Idaho Sports Talk all week too, and I don't know. I mean, I get wanting both, Coach. Well, why can't we just have both? It's not going to hurt anything if you
I
leave
I already gave you the formula, Johnny. Can you recite it for me real quick?
Just you said what is it? 13, 200, 3, and 2. You want to win, Ashton. You think Ashton Jeanty can win the Heisman at a Group of 5 school playing a half of football, half of the games? I mean, people need to get this straight. This is not going to happen every week where Jeanty doesn't play in the second half. There will be second halves he plays in, Coach, but sometimes there won't. And you think he can still – this is not affecting Ashton Jeanty's Heisman candidacy, in your opinion, the fact that he's doing this on less than 15 carries some games?
No, I think it's the ultimate mic drop himself. It's the Ashton drop. It's like, dude, hey, yeah, I did it in 13. I think it's incredible. I think it's absolutely incredible. And what makes it even more incredible isn't the fact that in any of these games, I haven't seen him consistently running through cavernous holes that sometimes you see where, Ollie Gordon a year ago, how many times was he doing ridiculous things? The Oklahoma State offensive line, injuries, lost players, to graduation, transfer portal. Ollie Gordon doesn't look like he's that good, but right now, I mean, he's not good.
He's just having a bad year.
He's having a bad season. And that was Ashton Jeanty's competition for the Doak Walker in preseason. Ashton Jeanty is doing this without 2 starting offensive linemen that are out for at least significant time, one for the season, at least to my best knowledge.
I wouldn't count on Roger coming back either, Coach. We don't know this for sure, but I'd probably bet for a majority of this thing, you're out those 2 starting linemen.
Yeah, and I go back to this because, I'm an offensive line guy, man. Anytime an offense has success, anytime the run game has success, I have historically been the first guy to say, dude, that's because of those guys. Nobody ever talks about them. They're the best salt of the earth group of human beings on planet Earth. Offensive linemen, I love them. I love every place I've coached. I've loved those guys. Love the hell out of them. But what makes Ashton Jeanty's candidacy for the Heisman so much stronger is the fact that he isn't running through those cavernous holes that at times he was through a year ago. This is him creating. This is him showing that I am that dude. I'm the guy that doesn't matter what you block. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's not like I'm not throwing shade at Boise State's offensive line. I'm actually crediting Ashton Jeanty for being that freaking unbelievable. And that's why I think his candidacy is so strong, because, people that are football guys or even just love high level of athletic performance right now, Ashton Jeanty's weekly highlight reel is football pornography.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, I'm addicted, Coach. I got to go see somebody.
Did you just admit maybe another thing to me right there? Or
I can't stop watching his highlights. I've seen them all 500 times, and they're all spectacular each time. And I love every Saturday because we get to add 4, 5, 10 to the list, and he just owns the highlight of the internet right now. And I think he's going to win the Heisman. If he stays healthy and he just keeps doing this, I think he's going to win the damn award. And Boise State fan, you stinking Boise State alum, I have to hear it the rest of my life that Boise State now has a freaking Heisman winner too. It's like, yeah, I think it's going to happen if he stays healthy. Now, your boy Travis Hunter, we'll see. If Colorado is in the Big 12 championship game, think about that. And they might. They're in the mix. If they are playing for a berth to the CFP and Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders are all Americans, okay, that might be tough for Jeanty. It might be, but that's the only guy I can see, unless there's a quarterback, Cam Ward. If he gets mega hot and the U goes undefeated, they're 13-0, 12-0, and look at their schedule. I think they will. Maybe the quarterback comes back in. But I ain't buying it, Coach. I think this kid's going to win the Heisman. We got to get people the football. Game start in 6 minutes. You'll be back when? Post-game?
Somewhere between 1:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. So, yeah, I'll go with the Johnny ball game special. I got to live it. Myself in our basement here watching some ball.
Yes.
And ordering the DoorDash, everything that has a combination of meat, burrito, cheese, beans. We got everything on Taco Bell's menu, Johnny.
Oh,
I
you're
think
totally ordering that tonight. Yeah, your daughter, Peyton. You don't even have to order it. Peyton will handle everything. She's a whiz kid on DoorDash. Bum, 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 bum.
Dude,
got it.
How about this, man? Just a quick anecdote here.
Yeah.
Peyton She's in high school, man. How do I have a high school? Jeez, man.
Now, when you were coaching at Boise State, she was like 1. I don't know.
Yeah, she was 3. She was 3 years old.
She's a little kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And that the fact that right now she's a high school kid, and I find out that she orders one drink at high school during their little nutrition break or passing period or whatever. She gets a DoorDash to her high school for one drink from Starbucks. And I go, how much is that? She's like, it's like $15 for one drink.
She DoorDashes to her high school. Peyton is a G. She $15 coffees right there on the side. Oh yeah.
It's like for some type of strawberry acai refresher. Like you just paid for you've paid $15 for a glorified high C drink. That's what you just did. Never again, Peyton. And when you wake up at 2:00, I'm showing you this clip.
That is badass. Yeah, when you wake up at 2:00 in the afternoon, teenage life. Coach, always a blast. Ball Talk Special Edition, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. Enjoy the games, Coach Sanford. Post game, you'll be on Ball Talk, and then the pregame show, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll see you there, Coach.
Special guest tonight. Got Jeremiah Dickey, and we got wife of Spencer Danielson on the pregame show, apparently.
That'll be great. That'll be great. All right, guys. See you next time. It's Ball